Hi everybody, Danny Bader here, and welcome to Season 2, Episode 22 of our Back to Life podcast. Today's guest is really a wonderful young woman that I came across on social media. Her name is Morgan Myles, and she's actually a contestant on NBC's The Voice this year. When I found Morgan on social media, I came across her and I listened to her music and I saw her content, what she was posting, and her attitude and her energy, and I thought, man, I gotta connect with this young lady and see if she'll join me on the podcast. And it wasn't long, and she got back to me and said, yes, I will. Now, when we recorded this podcast, she couldn't say that she was on The Voice because of all the contractual obligations. You can't let anybody know who's on it because it had not premiered for the season yet. So what I love about this is that in this conversation, Morgan and I don't talk at all about her being on The Voice. And by the way, she was the first contestant this year on The Voice. She was the one blind audition that they leaked, and she got all 4 chair turnarounds in like record time. She is absolutely amazing, and I'm pretty certain she's going to do great this season, and I look forward to watching her. So Morgan and I talk about her journey with music. She talks about her support network of her friends and her mom and dad, and she talks about some things in the industry that have not gone her way, where there have some people that she's worked with that have been dishonest and not holding her in the best interest. So she also talks about the journey she's had where she lost her best friend and cousin Mac, and she talks about moving through that difficult time. I'm telling you, I believe on this podcast, what I attempt to do is bring you stories of people who have a bold vision and know how to move towards it and surround themselves with good people and give us some insight on how do we move through the crappy times, how do we build resilience and get back and not just be living in life, but be fully engaged and fully alive. And you're going to hear a lot of that now. So get your notepad out, listen to this, share it, listen to it with a friend, comment on it, but you are going to enjoy this conversation with the wonderful Morgan Myles. Morgan Myles, thank you very much for joining us.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for having me, Danny. But what a nice intro. I hope that's what I want to inspire on social media, because I want people to look at my pages and feel a little bit of happiness if it brings any type of light. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, you got it. And I would encourage you not to hope, because hope is to want something to happen, but to trust is to have a firm belief in the reliability.
Ooh,
So if I would trust that your message out there is good for people and it's helping people and supporting people. So that is absolutely great.
Awesome. You're right.
Yeah. So perhaps this will be, as I said, we chatted a little bit earlier. I love Nashville. I get down there a couple times a year. So perhaps this will be the beginning of a cool friendship.
Yes.
And I sent you some books and a T-shirt today.
Yes.
I can't remember if I sent you a Lead with Love T-shirt or a It's All Gonna Be Okay. But they all have, this is a DLDSM, Don't Let Dumb Shit Matter. I didn't have any more of them. I'll get you one of those.
My dad would wear. My dad, I might need that shirt that you got on right now, because that is 100% what my dad would wear.
All right, well, we'll talk, because I think I do have some men's DLDSM left. So we'll get it squared away. But Morgan, why don't you do this? Just kind of give the listeners right now, who is Morgan Myles, real quick. Where'd you grow up, and what took you on this path of music and ultimately down to Nashville, where your career is good and growing stronger, I imagine.
All right. Well, I'm originally from Williamsport, Pennsylvania, and from the get-go, I just really, really loved music, and there's nobody musical in my family, but my parents were super supportive, and my mom started taking piano lessons with me when I was like 6, and I got really into guitar, and we were 3 hours away from New York City, so we started going back and forth and trying to figure out this crazy business is insane. But really, it's just been a nonstop, journey of figuring out where to go next. So I ended up going to Berklee College of Music in Boston my freshman year. And that year, I ended up meeting the head of Sony A&R and in Nashville. So here I am, a freshman at Berkeley in Boston, but going back and forth to Nashville. And then they were like, in order to continue developing you, you should look into moving to Nashville. So then I transferred to Belmont for a music business degree. Was writing. I interned for Taylor Swift and labels in town and everything, just to kind of figure out what the heck this business was. Writing a ton, and then I ended up getting a cool gig with an RCA artist as her utility BGV singer. And that was the Reba tour. That was literally a month after I graduated college. And then oddly enough, I figured out, wow, my whole time is completely taken up by being on the road for music that's not mine. I got to be in town. So I ended up working for a woman, nannying her kids that she had ALS. And I ended up becoming a pretty big figure in their lives, especially after she passed away. In the meantime, my writing got really heavy because of that situation. It was pretty, it's really tough watching someone, love just disintegrate with that disease.
Yeah, Morgan, I'll just jump in because I'm in here again as a connection. My brother-in-law, Bobby, who I loved dearly. I have one sister and 6 brothers, right? Snow White and a 7, Irish Catholic version of Snow White. And my brother-in-law, Bobby, passed May 25th, ALS after 5 years. So I feel what you're saying. And boy, what a blessing for them to have you, as she battled that disease and ultimately, lost that battle as they do. So it's cool. Yeah. When you read Taking the Shit Out of the Show, I sent them to you this morning. Chapter 7 is called Bobby, and it's based on his journey. So you'll see some similarities in there. Oh man. Yeah. Boy, what a blessing. So then you got more focus and said, all right, I've got to create my own music and my own brand.
I was writing all the way through that. I started cutting a record with a producer in town. And that's when I started being able to kind of balance taking care of the kids and then hitting the road, opening for, all of country's biggest stars or festivals and that sort of thing.
Right.
And it's just been crazy after that. I mean, as soon as I found a really great publicist that believed in me, then we started getting some really cool write-ups. And it's just been a constant journey from that point of navigating new music. And I signed with a management company not too long after that. And unfortunately, just those typical stories of the slime ball type thing happened. And my masters I wrote 70 songs in 5 months. And this is while my cousin, who was my best friend, got glioblastoma, and he was going down. It was just getting really rough. And a lot of those songs were about him and our faith. And, you feel very vulnerable and helpless in those times. And so that's a lot of that album. And I had one of the biggest producers in town record it, who was also a friend, and he had never been paid for the album. It was just like so out of control. About a year after it, me pushing and pushing and pushing to get my masters, I finally was able to release this album. And granted, this manager, I think he's still gonna keep pushing this. That he has no shame. It's the devil works in mysterious ways.
Amen to that. Final justice. And there will be a final justice, Morgan.
Right. No, I mean, the justice is,
what was your cousin's name?
Matt.
Okay. Yeah, I read that story. We're going to talk about that a little bit more.
Mackenzie, Mac. But
Mac with a C.
Yeah, with a C. Mackenzie. But after that, I got out of that management deal pretty flawlessly. Then the pandemic hit, and I had a booking agent. I had switched booking agents, and once again ran into someone that that was really overworked me, but to the point she started committing fraudulent contracts. And
oh my gosh.
Yeah. And so it led me to what I'm doing now, which I can't wait to, put it out in the world, but
Mhm.
I love what I do. If I was in it for the wrong reasons, I would have been done by now, because there are so many toxic people surrounding
Oh,
this
sure.
business.
Yeah.
But I don't do it for them, and I
Yeah.
don't want them to win. But I have a lot of wonderful, beautiful people in the business, in the creative side,
Mhm.
that I absolutely love. And yeah, there's going to be a few bad eggs that come along that
That is
try to
cool.
control you. So that's
Yes.
kind of been the journey.
Yeah. You know what? I mean, it's so cool. Just so we started talking right now. So my brother-in-law, Bobby, that I mentioned, that passed away last, you're from Williamsport, Pennsylvania. He's in the Hall of Fame football for Lycoming, right? Which is right in
Oh,
Williamsport. So I'm like,
that's
this is crazy. Our nephew, Sean McManus, went to Berkeley. He's now in Beetlejuice on Broadway. So I'm like, wait, man, there's too many connections here.
awesome.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. So tell me this. Um, where do you get your inspiration for life, for pursuing your dream? Do you write down goals? Do you have a vision for yourself? I mean, how do you create this intense energy to get your butt out of bed every day and say, okay, let's go?
Well, I mean, I've never been that person to let like anything stop me, in a sense. I mean, my
Hmm.
parents are my backbone for sure. I mean, they're the most encouraging human beings on the planet.
Great.
And so, having that foundation for me is huge, because, when I have my doubts, they're able to come right back there and be like, no, 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 you've come way too far. But
Hmm.
also for me, music's always been such a therapy for me. Like,
Hmm.
writing is huge because it's such an outlet that I know is healthy.
Hmm.
And there is no other feeling than when you take a stage, and that energy, it's such a high that honestly, I can't even describe it to anything
Yeah.
else. And so, and then when people come up to you and say, I needed to hear that tonight, or whatever, like that, you're like, this is my mission.
That's
So,
it.
um, one of my biggest things, though, that I try to do every morning, if I'm really diligent about it,
Mhm.
is I have a gratitude 30-day journal, and I
Cool.
try to keep up with that, so I can do my 10 thank yous in the morning and just
Mhm.
recalibrate my, like, I think we just take for granted all the small blessings,
Yeah.
and those are actually the biggest blessings.
Hmm.
And so I can tell a difference when I actually do that in the mornings.
Yeah.
So
So do you
when I
have, I
don't
think
do
that's, yeah, I
it,
think it's great. I mean, here's my journal right here, right?
yeah,
I must have 15 from over the years
I
back
know,
there.
I've got so many.
It's so, and I talk about that, and so many people dismiss it. So I would just encourage the listeners again. I mean, you just got to know Morgan a little bit. You can tell she's got great energy, great resilience, great love of family and friends. If you've not yet journaled, start to experiment with it. It's pretty cool just to sit there with your cup of coffee or tea or whatever and just get your thoughts out. Sometimes
Mhm.
it's paragraphs, sometimes it's 5 pages, right, Morgan?
Right.
You know
And
that. Yeah.
one
Any
thing,
other routines in the morning? Anything else? Exercise, prayer, journaling, anything to kind of get you rolling in the morning?
I mean, that's the biggest one, which takes up a solid, like, at least 30 minutes. And I usually go and work out
Hmm.
right after that, which, again, that's just another great thing to do to stay more positive. You're releasing toxins, you get your endorphins going,
Yep.
just stuff like that, that I feel
Yeah.
like exercise is really important to me. Also, just getting outside.
Yeah. Nature's cool,
I
right?
really appreciate being, walking my dog in the park and stuff like that. So that's really kind of my routine for sure.
Yeah. Besides your parents, and we'll talk about Mac in a moment. Besides your parents, who else is in your kind of, I always use the term moai, is a Japanese term, where in the Japanese culture, parents put young children together, about five of them, when they're born, into a moai. And the whole intention of that moai is just to support one another through life,
Yeah.
financially, emotionally, everything, spiritually. So who's kind of in your world? Mom and dad, certainly. Who else is in there?
I mean, 100% God. I mean,
Mm,
my faith is it's big. Like, if I didn't have that foundation, I think I would truly be struggling. I mean, it's a lot of people, I think, are like, and a lot of people that I feel struggle, they maybe they don't believe in going to church or religion, which is
mhm,
totally fine, but
mhm.
don't dismiss spirituality and how important that is. You know, if it's going to the park and really putting in that effort. But for me, it's perspective. And it plays such a huge role in my life, like for so many reasons. And it's gotten me through time and time again on so many. So I mean, I'm trying to think of some of the, then it gets into just an overwhelming amount of people that have been so supportive of me and my career, you know. But the major is like God, mom, and dad. But I have a wonderful, supportive family. Like my Aunt Sherry is just so amazing. And I have just so many wonderful fans and co-writers and, you know, people that I work with that keep me going, you know?
Yeah, it's so important to be surrounded by good people, right?
Yeah. Oh,
You know,
absolutely.
I say, you know, seek support, principle, seek support, and then also be support, flip side. You know, always keep your eyes open because, you know, life will get us moving fast, especially in your, you know, occupation as a singer-songwriter. You know, keep your eyes open because I always say there's probably somebody in your life that needs you more than you're showing up right now. Not because we're bad people, it's just life gets us distracted. So I think that's a great practice. Hey everybody, Danny Bader here, and just wanted to let you know that on October 1st, I began a new challenge called the 14 Days of Magic. It's sponsored by a company called Magic Mind, which developed the first productivity shot, a little drink that you take in the morning that's all designed to enhance your focus and your clarity and your calmness and your ability to get more things done in less time without all the stress. And it's also been helping me sleep better. I started on October 1st, and I'm experiencing all of those benefits. So here's the challenge that they have, 14 Days of Magic. It's got two parts. Number one, you commit to 14 days striving to become the best version of yourself, which I think we would all want to do. Number two is for all the hashtags that we put out there on social media and the mentions on Instagram, Magic Mind will donate money to the reforestation of the Amazon rainforest. So two really good benefits. You continue to grow into the best version of yourself, and Magic Mind helps the Amazon rainforest and the planet. So here's how it goes. You'll want to go out to www.magicmind.co/14 days of magic. That's using the 14 for 14. www.magicmind.co/14 days of magic. You'll get a lot more information out there. Then what you want to do is when you go ahead and get some Magic Mind, you buy maybe a 15-day or a 30-day pack, you'll want to use my code at checkout, BTL14. BTL14. That'll give you a 20% discount off your first purchase. And then what you'll want to do is, as in those 14 days, as you start to experience some of the benefits of this, right? More calm, more relaxed, more focused, getting more done in less time, a sustained energy throughout the day, you'll want to go in through that website and post your content. Hashtag everything with hashtag 14 Days of Magic. If you're out there on Instagram, it's at Magic Mind. And then as your creative contest, as you tag me and as you put your content in through the website there, you will be entered to win 3 months of a free subscription for Magic Mind worth $300. So I just wanted to mention this. I'm experiencing it. I think it's wonderful. I'll continue to use Magic Mind, I think, for a long, long time. And I encourage you to get out there, check it out. Support being the best version of yourself and support the reforestation of the Amazon rainforest. Peace. So, if you would, just share a little bit about that struggle when Mac was diagnosed and then ultimately passed away, because I know that influenced a lot of your music. What was that like? How'd you move through it?
I mean, I think it's like a step-by-step process of watching it go down. I mean, when he found out after he had a seizure, and I mean, he had so many brain surgeries, and just seeing this healthy person that was my age and never in a million years thought that he wouldn't be a part of the rest of my life.
Mm-hmm.
It was just really hard to watch because it was really tough. And we knew no one's ever survived glioblastoma. So
right.
it was kind of this thing. And he gave all his, he did the trials at Dana-Farber, and he was so rooted in faith as well.
Good.
And he was pretty open about it to me personally. What's so crazy about those 3 years, there was the second year into the trial, I had 14 shows covered in Boston, like people in just random acts of God, I feel like, so that I could see him as much as possible. And, playing, like, I remember the night I got to see him right before I was singing the anthem at Gillette, and he was gonna go, but then he just it would have been too loud and what he was going through. But he actually made that picture. It's still his Instagram profile, and it still just warms my heart, because it's like he wanted to be there and he believed in me so much. But it was just like, I understood, and he tried. But there was so
but you felt his presence and his energy. Oh, sure, no question.
And I still do. I still do.
Yeah. Has Mac, I always love this, has Mac ever shown up for you and let you know? Have you ever felt a sign, seen a sign? Tell me one, because I love them. I mean, I died when I was 29. Me and my buddy got electrocuted. I was dead on the site, and then I came back to life. And I believe there's a fine line between here and there. And if we as people, when we're just more open to it, and I'll talk about this tomorrow, I've got to lead a service for a dear friend of ours that passed. So yeah, how has Max shown up for you?
I mean, there's been like a few, but he never listened. So the day I wrote I Believe was the family got a group text that Max entering into end of life therapy. And I just was devastated that morning. Here I'm like in LA writing, and I am just losing it. Yeah. And I wrote this song, I Believe. And our grandfather had passed away of brain cancer a few years earlier. And Pippi's favorite song was this song called I Believe, but it was like this old classic gospel song. But it finally realized what that song was about, and Pippi did live that life. And so we did my own I Believe. And so I asked Mac, and by this point, he's not doing too well. The song's recorded. I said, would you like to hear it? And he said, I just don't think I can hear it right now. I mean, and there was a time like he was breathing really heavily, and I heard him crying, and it was because he wasn't going to be able to go back to Boston. We were in Indiana, and it was just it was a moment.
Take a breath. I got you.
But so the song, a couple, like he had passed away, and the song was being released, and I had not even hired like a publicist or anybody. I hadn't talked to anybody. All of a sudden I get a link, and there's Mac and I from that same picture, that his Instagram like profile, right, of him and I on Billboard talking about I Believe. Wow. It wasn't like a single cover. It wasn't a picture of me. It wasn't the video. It was legit a picture of Mac and I talking about that song in particular out of the entire 10 songs. Yeah. And crazy. Yeah. And then right after that, there was a guy that I dated only like a month, very strangely. His name was Patrick, and he goes, what's really strange is my cousin is the only one that I have in common with your cousin Mac. Well, that happened to be his cousin was Mac's first radiation nurse. And apparently she goes, yeah, I know who you're talking about, because Mac continually talked about his cousin, who was a singer in Nashville, and how proud he was. And I was like,
oh, that's it, girl.
What in the actual,
Oh, that is it. Well, Einstein, I always say Einstein had a great quote. He said, coincidence, right, is God's way of staying anonymous. Oh, yes. That. Yeah. You know what? Thank you for your authenticity there in talking about Mac. You know, I saw something in Billboard, and I just want to read for the people. And I saw you got some Rolling Stone, American Songwriter. You got some great press. And you said this: music is therapy. Music has a way of reaching people even in their most darkest, hardest times. When we're in those times, we reach a place of isolation. Music is something we can independently reach for when we are so alone and feel completely helpless. Sometimes that one song might empower us enough to start talking, to start reaching out, to ultimately start the healing process. That is what this music did for my soul while writing through the pain, and it is what pulled me out of the pain afterwards. So that song, I believe, which I've listened to it already about freaking 20 times because I love it. What album is that? Tell the folks.
It's called Therapy.
It's called Therapy. Okay, I want to make sure I got the right one. I would strongly encourage people, and anybody listening, you've probably heard that before. You've heard a song, or you've gone to a song that just, it settles you down. It brings the spirit of your deceased loved one back, and I think that's really, really cool. So I would check that out. What's your favorite song? What's your favorite song that you've written?
I've written, honestly, that is so tough, but I believe is up there because of the meaning behind it. And that's kind of the one that I always say when people ask me, but every song has its place and its time. I mean, I have a song out there, a cappella, that did really well. And what I love about that song was I fought for the video to be really fun and people to not take themselves too seriously and be goofy. And it makes people happy. And it's like, I love that one too.
Yeah.
Just,
I like that one too, because you said you tell the people what the song's about. You said, I do better a cappella, right?
Yeah.
So tell them what the song is about, because I thought that was pretty cool too.
Yeah, it's just being independent and basically I'm better off by myself than the person dragging you down or whatever. And it's just like an empowerment song for sure.
Oh yeah.
Good of start with you first and everything fall in place, but you got to love yourself before you can love anybody else.
Yeah, we'll use that quote. You got to love yourself before you use anybody else. I saw recently on again, here we are at Williamsport, the Little League World Series.
Yeah.
A team had on the back, "We is greater than," the symbol, greater than me. And I've always challenged that, and I think you did right now as well. We're all part of a team and we want to support and contribute to everybody. I believe, like you do, you got to take care of yourself first. You got to have your head, your heart, your soul right, because then you can show up and be a part of that group. So it's really cool that you said that. Who do you listen to? What type of music do you like? What's one or two of your favorite songs that's out there?
I always say my favorite album of all time is Tapestry by Carole King. They're just timeless songs that feel like they're written so simplistically, but it's just so amazingly just real, and it travels with you.
Yeah.
I mean, I grew up listening to Eva Cassidy and Janis Joplin, Bonnie Raitt, Susan Tedeschi, Grace Potter.
Yeah. Love Susan Tedeschi. Yeah, she's great.
Yeah, she went to Berkeley. And then I always say my favorite song is Hallelujah. I don't think it can really be a song that took 10 years to write, but that's another song that it means different things to you at different times in your life. And that to me is a well-written song.
That's cool. That is cool. Yeah, I actually referenced one of Susan Tedeschi's songs in the first book when the character Jake's out in Moab trying to see it. If you read that, you'll see Tedeschi. She's really cool. Anybody else that you listen to now? Contemporary artists, either country or not?
I mean, I listen to everything. I'm super into, like I said, I think Chris Stapleton, awesome. I love Casey Musgraves. A female vocal lover of all kinds. So I don't know. I mean, gosh, the list could go on of people I love. Right now, I do really love Camila Cabello's Bam Bam song, and just songs that make me feel happy. Summertime. But I love listening to reggae, and I listen to Frank Sinatra before I go and play a show because it calms just the rigmarole, like I still don't think I use that word right. Just the craziness, the chaos
Craziness. Yeah.
before I get to a show, because for traveling and the schedule so nuts. And then I put that on, put my makeup on, and then I'm like, all right, let's go do this.
Let's go stir some souls, right? Get out there and stir some
Right.
souls. That is it. That is so cool. So where could people? Well, I had one more question before we kind of go into wrap up, and I certainly appreciate your time and your energy and all. There's so much out there now where I see young people, especially with this social media, comparing themselves to other people, which is one big slippery slope. We know that. What would you offer to them if they're listening, or to their parents? And how do you address not comparing yourself to others? I sense you don't do that.
I've gotten so much better about it.
Mm-hmm.
There's times that I'm human, that I'll slip up and do that, but it's very rare at this point.
Good.
I also try to balance out, like, I'm not sitting there obsessing, looking at all these other pages, maybe like I used to do years ago. But like, for me, like, I would say balance your time. And when it's happening, get off of it. Like, when you start to feel that way, get off of it and go distract yourself in another way. But only follow accounts that make you feel good. Like, why are you going to put yourself in a situation? I mean, maybe it's friends or something that you're comparing yourself for something. It's just like, then don't get on it. If you're feeling that way, have the strength to get off of it.
Only follow accounts that make you feel good. I'm gonna take that advice too, because I got a couple I probably should unfollow.
Yeah.
So you're a very wise young lady, Morgan.
Well, I mean, it seems so simple, but it's true. But like,
it is, right?
I think it's social media can be an extremely positive marketing tool, and a way to really reach people in a real way. And that's the silver lining.
Yeah.
But people are using it in a very toxic way. And, you just have to really try to be aware of how you're feeling. I think for kids, it's a really fine line. I feel like it's such a bigger conversation, in the sense of, like, on the ethics scales of, like, there should be some type of class or ethics going on even in high school at this point, to make, or probably 8th grade, 6th grade, to prepare them for what these emotions and hormones, because there's no going home after school, decompressing with your parents, and then putting your game face back on to go to school the next day after a hard day. No, it's constant. And I think as parents, I mean, with what I did with the kids that I nannied for, was you have 1 hour to either watch TV, be on the computer, or, on electronics. And I would put a timer on. As soon as it dinged, they got off of whatever it was. And I was like, now go outside or whatever. Yeah. Like, because you need,
right?
You need a break.
Yeah, man, that's good. That is really good. Where can people go ahead and find you, listen to your music, follow you on social? Give us some places we can go find you.
Thank you for saying that. Everything is Morgan Myles Live, MYLES. So morganmyleslive.com. All my socials are at Morgan Myles Live. You can find me on any DSP, Spotify, Apple, YouTube. Just Morgan Myles, MYLES. But yeah, I try to keep it simple so y'all can find me.
I like it. That's a great name too for country singer. I saw that Morgan Myles. I'm like, that's a good name. That's a great name.
Like, all of a sudden there's like so many Morgans. I was like, when did this happen?
It's just crazy how people are named. My wife's name's Lisa. She's 59, or something. There's like 9 Lisas in her class. It just is all cyclical like that. Well, listen, I've enjoyed this immensely, and I'm sure the audience did as well. A couple things before we wrap up, and it's probably you'll pull some things from our conversation. If you're having coffee right down in Nashville in the morning with a person, and you're never going to see them again, and they say, "Hey, Morgan, give me a couple things, 2 or 3 things that I should really stay aware of, principles that I should practice that will help me create fulfillment in my life," and will help me move through the difficult times. What are 2 or 3 things that you would tell them?
Well, I would say to remember that the small blessings are actually the big blessings. I would say to always treat yourself with kindness and respect, and to remember that every day you have to choose to be joyful. And then to be okay with the fact that everybody on the comparison level, everybody has a different journey. And the moment that you accept that and enjoy the journey, that's when you start to really just enjoy your life. When you stop comparing yourself and saying, oh, here, I'm supposed to be at this right now in my life. No, like, stop. I don't know why I think we had cultural norms at some point. Yes. But if you start to accept your path, that's when that opens you up to the universe and God, whatever you really believe in, that positivity. That's when it starts to really funnel in, and you're just like, wow, once you get over that tipping point, you're there. It's I think, in you go like this. Sure. But give yourself that just that space to be like, okay, I'm aware. Let me get back to, because I really like when I'm on that positive path. I think that's what I say, is just trust your path. Right. Trust and be okay with it.
Trust your path. I love it. Trust. Yeah. Good. Well, listen, thank you so much, Morgan. As I said, when I followed you a little bit, started listening to your music, I said, man, I think this is really a really cool, talented, positive young person. And speaking with you now for 40 minutes, that is absolutely confirmed. Thank you. I appreciate it. And I trust our paths will cross. I'm going to catch a show or 2 of yours for sure. And we'll try to get your dad a shirt, a DLDSM shirt. But until then, listen, everybody, some great input, some great insight there from Morgan. I would strongly encourage you, get out there, follow her on social media, because she's putting out some really good positive messages that many of us need, and listen to her music because it's really, really good. All right. Until next time, Morgan, thanks so much. Everybody out there, remember to go out and create fulfillment and resilience, because that's what we're here for. Peace.
Thanks, everybody.
Hey, everybody. I'm sure you certainly enjoyed listening to Morgan Myles and her wonderful insights. She is certainly wise beyond her years, I believe. I just thought it was so great when I asked her, where do you get your inspiration? And she talked about her parents and her faith and her friends. I loved her whole take on gratitude and starting your day, being thankful. That great quote she said, the small blessings are the big blessings. For me, too, the one quote that really came across, she says, you have to love yourself before you can love anyone else. You have to love yourself before you can love anyone else. And that takes work. That really takes work. And then the greatest thing she said, I think, towards the end was just choose to be joyful on this journey. So thanks again for listening. Be sure to comment on this, share this, post it out on your social media. Stay in touch if you need anything. And until next time, create fulfillment, be resilient, persevere, and trust that it's all going to be okay. Peace.